Welcome to TruthSeikers.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Seiker Podcast with Service of Change, where we challenge reality, question that which we've been taught, and hope to inspire a new direction of thought to bring about change. I'm your host, Dennis Nappy II, with Service of Change at serviceofchange.com, where you can read my book, I Am Human and We Are Not Who We Think We Are, for free just by subscribing to the Seiker newsletter, where you will also get weekly exclusive content directly from me, talking about many of the things that we cover on this show: metaphysics, paranormal activity, and everything under the sun, conspiracy theories, you name it. I try to cover it each week on the Seiker Podcast. Interesting show tonight, some things that I want to talk about. An article out of unknowncountry.com about half of all medical literature may be false, according to a medical journal editor. I'm going to review that article in a minute. I also want to talk about something that I threw up on the Facebook feed, the I Am Human Facebook feed, over the past week. It's, with the Christmas holiday and stuff, the occult origins of the Christmas holiday, something I've been following for quite some time now. It was actually one of the starts of my truth-seeking truth-seeking journey. I came across some of this information, so it was just repeated in this article that I thought was very interesting. And I want to talk about, the upcoming New Year 2016, what's it going to bring. So sit back and relax, take out your pen and paper if you want to take some notes and find some of these articles that I'm talking about. And I always encourage you to do your own research as well. No matter what I say, no matter how true it may sound, no matter how false it may sound, do your own research, do your own homework, use your own mind, and you be the judge of this information. That's what a good truth seeker does. So, like I said, I want to talk about this article that was found on, I found it on unknowncountry.com, which I think is a great website to go to get a lot of your alternative news and free thinking and stuff. And it's called Half of All Medical Literature May Be False, according to a medical journal editor. This is dated Monday, December 28th, 2015. And this is very concerning. It's something that I've experienced, that I've suspected for a long time. And I don't think it should come as a big surprise to those of you, that have been down this road before. But so many of us just take the word of the medical authority as gospel. And this real push for me with these type of shows and with my newest writing project, I Am Human, was inspired, and I've said it before, by my father's death. He died of cancer back in 2013, and I witnessed firsthand these doctors doing horrible things as far as their treatment of him, giving us bad information about how to take care of my father, telling him that since he's on the receiving chemotherapy, he needs to gain weight, and the best way to gain weight was to put frosting on everything that he ate, instead of telling him go eat an avocado and eat an alkaline diet. Frosting is filled with sugar. Sugar feeds cancer. It's no secret that science has proven that. So they were telling him to go eat sugar, which feeds the cancer. I mean, it's a whole mess. But needless to say, a lot of my blind faith in medicine was completely destroyed. I'm not saying all medicine is bad, but it has been significantly corrupted. And, I highly recommend the documentary Cancer, the Forbidden Cure. I've done another show talking about that, but that really exposes a lot of this stuff. And, I think our first step, we can't take care of ourselves. We can't do anything. So we need to be more responsible for our health care. I'll talk about that a little bit more once I get through this article. But again, half of all medical literature may be false, according to a medical journal editor. In a continuing trend with the scientific community, Dr. Richard Horton, the current editor-in-chief of respected medical journal The Lancet, has announced that a large portion of the medical literature being published today is false, with perhaps up to half of the material being presented being based on bad science. In an article titled Offline, What is Medicine's 5 Sigma, Horton addresses concerns that were made as part of the presentations made at a symposium on the reproducibility and reliability of biomedical research held at the Wellcome Trust in London. These concerns regarded the issue of scientific malfeasance in published papers due to a variety of factors ranging from small sample sizes, poor methodology, to corporate bias. The case is straightforward, in quotes, much of the scientific literature, perhaps half, may be simply untrue. Afflicted by studies with small sample sizes, tiny effects, invalid exploratory analysis, and flagrant conflicts of interest, together with an obsession for pursuing fashionable trends of dubious importance, science has taken a turn toward darkness, explains Dr. Horton. I'm not going to read the whole article here, but what the article goes on to state is that he created a study based on that weak criteria and submitted the study. The study was basically, it was titled Chocolate Cocoa with High Cocoa Content as a Weight Loss Accelerator. So he created a study and biased the results, basically saying if you eat very sweet or high cocoa content chocolate cocoa, it'll help you lose weight. The study was completely bogus. He submitted it to a variety of medical journals, all of which accepted this study as true because it was a headline that would get sales, get people's attentions. So, it wasn't until after everybody accepted this study as fact that he then revealed, nope, this study was bogus. It was used with shoddy methods and kind of exposed this, according to this article anyway. So, but that's what we're up against when you have a corporate-backed interest in a lot of this medical research that we're taking as fact. It is, in fact, nope, it's just to sell medicine and drugs and make money, make a profit off of your sickness. Okay, so and I want to stress that there is money in you being sick. There is no money in you being well. There is no money in you finding an alternative cure by growing an herb in your garden and taking that to control your blood pressure. There's money in the pill that you have to get, the 30 pack of pills that you have to get every month that costs anywhere from $10 to a couple $1,000s that these pharmaceutical companies are making money. So, I always encourage people, get smart on your own health. Pick one ailment, one ailment at a time and research it. What causes that ailment? Not what are the symptoms of that ailment. What causes that ailment? And then look up alternative cures, holistic cures, all natural cures, remedies. And you'll find a variety of foods that you can eat that will help alleviate the symptoms. That will help alleviate the cause. And by default, the symptoms will reduce or go away as well. I always encourage you, consult with your medical doctor, find out what they say. You always want to talk with your doctor because they do know more than us in certain areas, but combine the doctor's knowledge with your own research and your own holistic treatments if you're not going to go see your own holistic practitioner. I've been learning as I go. But this is a very concerning article, and it's something that I think that we should all take heed in and pay attention to. So I'm going to move forward, and I want to talk about this article that I posted on my Facebook feed called The Occult Origins of Christmas. This was at yournewswire.com, written by Sean ADL Tabatabadi. I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name. I shared it the day after Christmas. I didn't want to share an article like this on Christmas Day because it is offensive to practicing Christians. It can be. And that's not my intent. My intent is not to offend people. We see a lot of this stuff come out right around the holidays, and I think that the language is controversial at best. Designed to say, you guys are idiots because you don't know the real truth. And that's not my goal. Christmas, I think, is a beautiful holiday as it stands right now. I could do without some of the greed and commercialism, but there's a lot of beautiful things that happen around the Christmas holiday, and a lot of that comes from the Christian faith. But there is more to it, and the origins of Christmas from a Christian's perspective. I don't know that that's the exact story. That's the way that it happened. However, the caveat I will give is that as it stands today, there is something beautiful that has come out of that story, whether that's the true origins or not. Moving forward, though, and looking at this article, it talks about the origins of Christmas, and it's something that I have studied. I have been studying. I know the movie Zeitgeist talks about the astrotheological connections between the story of the birth of Christ, which is actually Jordan Maxwell is the one that came up with this, where it talks about how on December 21st, after the summer solstice, the sun is traversing across the sky, and every day it rises 1 degree south. It moves 1 degree to the south every day up until the winter solstice on December 21st. On December 21st or 22nd, what Jordan Maxwell states is that, and this article mirrors that, is that the sun stops moving south. Behind it is a star arrangement called the Winter Cross, and the sun, essentially, since it stops moving for 3 days, the sun is essentially dead on the cross for 3 days. And then on December 25th, the sun, when it rises in the morning, moves 1 degree to the north again and begins its track, upward towards its glory. So the sun is born again on December 25th. And there's some other neat constellation arrangements that talk about this. Then it goes on to further explain how, the story of Christ is mirrored through countless other religious stories throughout history, thousands of years old, to include Mithra and I think Horus and some other religions out there, basically saying that there are other saviors who were born of a virgin on the 25th of December, followed by 3 kings who followed a star to the east, and, he died on the cross and 3 days later rose again. So that's not, the story of Christ is not the first time that story has been told. Again, this is according to astrotheology and some of the stuff that is talked about in this article. I recommend you read it. It'll be linked in the show notes, but it really got me thinking, and whether you agree or disagree, there's a lot of good stuff in there, and I highly recommend that you check out astrotheology, read those theories, listen to the talks by Jordan Maxwell. Check out my YouTube page. There's a lot of stuff with Jordan Maxwell in there under, I think, the conspiracy stuff. My conspiracy playlists has some Jordan Maxwell discussions on there, which are well worth your time. The other source that this references is the Christmas magic mushroom connection. And this talks about a book, The Seiker Mushroom and the Cross, which is a book that I'm currently reading, and since coming across this information has blown my mind. I'm going to read an excerpt from the article here. It says, John Allegro was a free-thinking Dead Sea Scrolls scholar and archaeologist. In 1970, he wrote a fascinating and highly controversial book entitled The Seiker Mushroom and the Cross, whose subtitle was a study of the nature and origins of Christianity within the fertility cult of the ancient Near East. In it, he put forth the unique idea that Christianity was an expression of an ancient cult which worshipped sex and mushrooms. To straight-laced scholars and prim and proper Christian apologists, the idea was simply too much for them to contemplate, but Allegro provided an impressive amount of evidence to back his claims. He showed how the mushroom, specifically the red and white magic mushroom Amanita muscaria, came up again and again in Christian art. He explains how the Eucharist, where Christians believe the bread wafer is transformed into the body of Christ, is a reenactment of the sacred ceremony of ingesting the flesh of the Amanita magic mushroom. Allegro argued that the entire story of Jesus in the Gospels was a code for the ancient journey of consciousness, self-exploration, the hallucinogenic trip. You can imagine how the majority of people reacted to the sex and mushroom cult theory in 1970 in England. So, and then it goes on to say, his ideas have merit. James, author, and others after Allegro further developed the idea that the Christmas magic mushroom connection amanitas are also linked to fertility and sex. They have a sexual appearance representing both the female and male at different stages of their growth cycle. They resemble a phallus, breast, and yoni. I'm not going to read the rest of the article, but I do want to talk about it. There's a YouTube video. It's called Mushrooms and the Origins of Christmas. Let's see, where is it at? Yeah, Mushrooms and the Origins of Christmas. It's linked in this article that I'll have in my show notes at serviceofchange.com. Again, it's a fascinating thought process, and it corresponds with I think it's the work of Terence McKenna, who thinks that the human conscious evolution. He said for millions of years you had this man ape. And I may be butchering it, so my apologies, but he says that, in foraging for food, this, primeval man or primitive man, may have ingested one of these hallucinogenic mushrooms. And, it's been through the research of Terence McKenna and many others, and the works of Graham Hancock, these hallucinogenic mushrooms have a profound psychological effect on the user, on the person that has ingested it, and it can cause one to question things like, what am I? Who am I? What is this reality? And he states that it's highly possible that the reason why man evolved into a different fashion was because it ingested these mushrooms and realized the profound spiritual connection and teachings that come from these plants, from these mushrooms. This book, The Seiker Mushroom and the Cross, I'm not done reading yet, but I think it's going to mirror a lot of the work of Graham Hancock in his book Supernatural, talking about a lot of the psychoactive spiritual experiences that come from ingesting these hallucinogenic plants. It mirrors a lot of the work of Carlos Castaneda, who's encountered consciousness and intelligences once he ingested ayahuasca as well, and of course the work of Terence McKenna. I'm going fast here, throwing a lot of sources out there at you, but I encourage you to do your research because I think, and I have never taken a psychoactive plant, but it's definitely something that has piqued my curiosity. But there seems to be a real connection. In some cases, people are reporting almost a teaching technology, and I read a theory once that maybe and I got to find this theory again, that the world was seeded by spores. Well, what if these are remnants of that, or an evolution of that initial seeding process? What if that is a connection to our higher source? Because people tend to have these, what they call godly experiences. Some people have had experiences they state are similar to the alien abduction encounter. So there is something there. So could that have its ties to religion and Christianity at the beginning? Quite possibly. Could that be why these drugs, these mushrooms, have been made illegal, because they are a teaching tool, reminding us of who we really are and what our true connection is? That is also a high possibility. I think it's interesting to note, according to this documentary tied into the Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, that the ancient shamans of these mushroom cults used to dress like the Amanita muscaria mushroom. Now, this is a red mushroom with a white speckles on the top, so they would wear traditionally red clothing with a red cap with white going around the brim and a little white ball on the top. So who's that sound like? Santa Claus. He would take his dried mushrooms in a sack, according to this video, and I think it was up in Siberia where this was happening, and the snow would be so high, the only way for him to enter the individual homes of the people he was bringing these mushrooms to would be through the smokestack in the ceiling. So he would come down the chimney dressed in red, with a red and white, with a sack over his shoulder, delivering the gifts or the fruits or the host. So there's a lot of neat stuff in this video. Check it out. Please don't be offended. I'm not trying to offend you, but I think we need to have these discussions, and I think this can enhance our spirituality. Even if it contradicts in some ways, it can also enhance what we know and give us a greater connection to the world around us. And with that greater connection, I think we can better evolve and find a better way to exist and coexist with one another and with the species that share this planet with us. And that is my goal. It's not to offend. It's not to create conflict. If you have a conflicting viewpoint, I'd love to hear from you, because it's only going to enhance my knowledge and my personal journey. So please reach out to me, Dennis Nappy II at gmail.com, Nappii. I would love to hear your thoughts. I wanted to get into talking about the new year for 2016. I'm just out of time today. There was too much for me to cover, but I would like to say, in your quest for truth in 2016, try to take an honest look at yourself, an honest reflection, and pick one thing that you're curious about and research it. Do as much research as you can. Read both sides of that and draw your own conclusions. Have a free mind. And respectfully share that information with people willing to listen, but don't force it upon them. There are people out there that will want to hear what we have to say. So, again, a lot of good stuff. I could go on forever. I will be doing another show once I finish the book, The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. I want to talk about it, as time permits. But again, I encourage you to reach out to me. If you have an idea for the show, send me an email. I'm in the process of putting some stuff together to get listener feedback. I want to hear from you. Check your newsletters. Please subscribe. serviceofchange.com/IamHuman. You'll be able to read I Am Human and We're Not Who We Think We Are completely free of charge. I want you to read it, and I'm working on Food for the Archons, and I want you to get as excited about that book as I am. There's a lot of good stuff in it. So please check that book out as well. But again, subscribe to the newsletter. I want your feedback. I want to hear what you think of the show. Ideas for the show. I'm getting ready to bring guests back on the show. So if you'd like to be a guest, please reach out to me. I'd love to have you on. So again, that's all the time I have for the show. This has been the Seiker Podcast with Service of Change at serviceofchange.com, where small changes among the masses can have a massive impact around the world. I encourage you to be that change. Never stop questioning and keep an open mind. Thank you, and have a happy, safe, and healthy new year.
Welcome to Truth Seekers.